Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna's appearing on the back wall. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It doesn't have exactly that way. Or you can just stay and see. And yeah, we'll just try. Vande Guru Nishabhaktan. You want to hear it again? You want to hear how he did it again? Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Taprakasham Sachak Shakti Krishna Chaitanya Samjakam. From the top. Vande Guru Nisha Bhaktan Nisha Nisha Vatarakan Taprakasham Sachak Shakti Krishna Chaitanya Samjakam. Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Is that too high? So not too high? Nityananda Sahodito Gaudodai Pushpavanto Chitro Shando Tamonudao Yadadvaitam Brahmopanishadit Tarapyasya Tanubha Ya Mantaryami Purushayiti Shosham Sabibabaha Shadaishvaryai Purno Ya Iha Bhagavan Sa Swayamayam Na Chaitanyat Krishna Jagati Paratatvam Paramiha Anarpita Charim Shirat Karunaya Vatirna Kalau Samarpayitu Munoto Jvalarasam Sabhakti Shriyam Paripurata Sundaradyuti Kadamba Sandipita Sadaraya Kandare Spuratu Vashachinandana Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikriti Ladini Shakti Rasma Ekatmanavapi Puvi Pura Deha Bedham Gatautau Chaitanyakyam Prakatamaduna Tadvayam Chaikamaptam Radha Bhava Duti Suvalitam Naumi Krishna Sarupam Shri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima Kidrisho Vanayaiva Swadyo Yena Bhuta Madharima Kidrisho Vamaniya Saukyam Chasya Mad Anubhavata Kidrisham Bheti Lobhat Tadbhavadya Samajani Shachi Garba Sindho Harindu Sankarshana Karanatawashayi Garbhodashayi Cha Payogdishayi Sheshashchayasyam Shakalasa Nitya Nandakya Rama Shararam Mamastu Mayatite Vyapi Vaikuntaloke Punaishvaryeshi Chaturvyuhamadye Rupam Yasyodhati Sankarshanakyam Tam Shri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye Maya Bharta Janda Sangashrayanga Shete Sakshat Karanam Bodhi Madhye Yasyaikam Shashi Pumanadi Devas Tam Shri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye Yasyam Sham Shashila Garbhoda Shaye Yanabhyabcham Loka Sangatanalam Loka Shastu Sutikatamadhatus Tam Shri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye Yasyam Sham Sham Sha Paradma Kilanam Oshta Vishnu Bhati Tuktabdi Shayi Shauni Bharata Yat Kala Sopyanantas Tam Shri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye Mahavishnu Jagat Karta Maya Srajatyata Tasyavatara Evayam Advaita Charya Ishvara Advaitam Harina Dvaitar Acharyam Bhakti Shamshanat Bhaktavatharamisham Tam Advaita Charyam Ashraye Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Jayatam Suratau Pangor Mama Manda Matirgati Matsarvasva Padambojau Radha Madana Mohano Divya Brindaranya Kalpadrumadha Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanasto Srimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prishtalibi Sevyamano Smarani Sriman Rasarasarambhi Vamshivata Tatastita Karshandenu Svaner Gopir Gopinata Shriyestunaha Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityanando Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda Etin Thakur Gaurayake Kariache Natmasa Etinera Charan Bandon Tine Morana Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai Shri Shri Panchatattva Ki Jai. We were given an opportunity to chant Shri Shri Pancha, but it disappeared, which shows that you should always take advantage of every shloka you can chant, because it just go away all of a sudden. The whole life could be like that. You just flip, and then the opportunity's gone. Who knows the Shri Upanishad? Who feels confident you know it all the way through? Hands tied behind your back. Eyes closed. Who can do? Okay, leave it off then. You can do? Want to try? We'll go. Or just turn it off for now. Do the best you can and what?
Purnamadam Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnam
I want to see how far she gets.
Purnameva Vashishyate Ishavasyam Idam Sarvam Yatkincha Jagatyam Jagat Tena Tyaktena Bhunjita Magrida Kasya Siddhanam Kurvani Veha Karmani Jijiveshi Chatam Sama Evam Tvai Nanyate Tosti Na Karma Lityate Nare Asuya Namate Lokha Andhena Tamasavita Tamste Pritya Bigachanti Yeke Chatma Hanojana Anejad Ekam Manaso Javiyo Naina Deva Abnuman Purvam Arsad Tadhavato Jnanate Titishat Tasmin Apumatarisva Dadati Dadati Pratikrin Tejati
Tadejati Tanajati
Tadure Tadvantike Tadantar Asya Sarvasya Tadu Sarvasya Sigapayata Astu Sarvani Bhutani Atma Vaibhut Vijanata Evan Pashyati Tatsa Sarvabhuteshu Chatmanam Tadona Vijugupshate Yasmin Sarvani Bhutani Atma Vaibhut Vijanata Tatra ko mohakashoka ekatvam anupashyata sapaya chakchukramakaidam avinam ashnaviram shutam apapavidham kavir manishi paribhu swayambhur yata tatvatorithan vidashasvati vyasamavyaha Andantama pravishanti ye sambhutam upashyate Tata bhuya evate tamo ya uvidyaya amrataha anyadahu arhu sambhavat anyadahu arvidyaya iti shushumadhiranam yenastad vichachakshire chavidyam chayas tadvedo bhayam saha avidyaya mritum tirtva vidyaya mritum ashnute Andam tama pravishanti ye sambhutim upasate tato bhuya evate tamo ya uvimbutyam rataha anyadevahur sambhavat anyadahur asambhavat iti shushrumadhiranam yenaschad vichachakshire sambhutim cha vinasham cha yastad vedo bhayam saha avidya vinashena mritum tirtva sambhutyam mritum ashnute hiranmayena patrena satyasya vihitam mukhan tatram pushvan apavinu satya dharmaya dashaye pushane karsayama surya prajapatya vyuharasmin samuha tejo yatte rupam kalyanatamam tatte pashyami yosau so purusho sohamasmi vayur anilam amritam atetam vashmantam shariram om krato smara kritam smara krato smara kritam smara agnenaya supataraya asman vishvani deva vayunani vidvan yuyodyasna churanam nameno bhuyishtam te nama uktim vidhema Shri Ishapanishad Sampurnam Hari Om.
Hey! Well done. Really nice. Okay, everyone should learn the Shri Ishapanishad. You know it too? Okay. We'll keep going around, not tonight, but I'll just call it everybody randomly, so just be ready, okay? It's good to practice it sometime when you're walking around and make mistakes, because then you know where the weakness is, and then you can go back and fix it. Like little patches in the road that need to be filled in. And if you get the new neural pathway so strongly there that it's there all the time, it's really good. So Prabhupada mentions this in the 8th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam in the story of Gagendra. Who knows the story of Gagendra? Okay. Could you tell us a little bit of the story of the Gajendra, please? Anything you know. Could you use the microphone here on your birthday?
So okay, it was in the Maharaj, right? Yeah. So King Adadama, he went to the forest, and then Durvasa Muni came. But while Indradumna Maharaj was in meditation, he didn't see Durvasa Muni. So Durvasa Muni cursed him to become an elephant. So then he became known as Gajendra after fighting and became known as the king of elephants. And then he went into a river and got trapped by the crocodile Huhu, and they fought for 1,000 years until he prayed to Krishna to kill the crocodile.
Then what happened? Did Krishna come?
Yeah, he came, and then he liberated Gajendra.
Haribo! Very auspicious to recount these pastimes from the Bhagavatam. Something Prabhupada brings up about this pastime is that in his previous life as Indradumna Maharaj, he was reciting prayers. And now when he was in trouble in the next life as an elephant, he remembered the prayers that he had chanted previously. Purva Samskar. So Prabhupada recommends then that everyone learn verses and stotrams. He mentions there Nrsinga Stotram, he also mentions the Brahma Samhita and so forth. So by memorizing these things, then they become indelible in your consciousness. And even in your next life, he said, if any of my disciples don't make it and they fall into animal life, they can still remember the verses. So I can also attest to, by learning verses when you're young, especially if you get them really neatly packed in there, then when you get older too, they're still there. Especially if you touch them up regularly by using them throughout your life. But it's a major asset you'll carry around with you. You may notice it if you travel around different places that not everybody learns all the shlokas, but if you do it, you'll be a standout in Krishna consciousness. That's a good thing. Who wants to be a standout? You're also humble, you won't raise your hands. Wasn't a trick question. So learn the whole Sri Upanishad, learn the Sri Upadeshamrita all the way through, then start working on, everyone knows the Brahma Samhita, right? Yeah? Niharika, you got it down? Pillar to post? Any places you're thinking maybe you couldn't hit it? Aha. So sometimes when you learn a long stotram, you'll know all the verses if someone says them, but or if you're chanting with somebody else, you'll know, okay, now I can start it because they started it. So the next level to take it to is to memorize also the sequence and what is the order. That's really important. That happened for me with Brahma Samhita. I learned it a long time ago when it was first coming out, because Pradyumna Prabhu had learned Sanskrit, and then he started translating the Brahma Samhita. It was the first thing he translated. He brought to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, this is really good, keep doing it. And we were getting installments of it, so we'd memorize it as it came out. Then we started chanting Brahma Samhita every day for the deities. We did it in New York for about 3 years. Every day after Mangal Artik, we go in front of the deities. Actually, we stood behind them on the altar. And at least 2 of us, and sometimes 4, would chant the Brahma Samhita every day. And then when I walked away from that, I knew all the verses, but I didn't know the order of them. And I was flying through Singapore, and I met this other brahmachari who was working on the Brahma Samhita. And we chanted it a couple days in a row, and he said, here, take this. This is my personal copy. And he made a copy of it for me. He had written out by hand. And next to each one of the verses, there was a letter. So in front of the first verses, there was CVAAA and then PEYAP. And I was looking at it on the plane, and I go, oh, I get it. It makes little words that you can follow. And then I just memorized that on the plane, and it was a few hours later, and then I could remember the sequence of it. So if you get that down, then it becomes such an asset that you can take it with you when you go on pilgrimage to Vrindavan or Mayapur, Jagannath Puri. And it's a really nice thing to be able to go before, or here, obviously. You go before the deities and just recite the set of verses that you learned for them. And then it becomes a really powerful offering that you can make wherever you go. So can you do that? Okay. Who said yes? Who else said yes? Haribol. Everybody say yes. Yes. So learn the whole Brahma Samhita, say yes. Yes. Holy Shipanishad. Yes. Upadeshamrita. Yes. Work on at least Divinity and Divine Service, all the 34 verses. Who knows all those? You're afraid I'll call on you, right? At least those, and then chapters of Bhagavad Gita. Who knows full chapters of Bhagavad Gita? You all know, come on, you all know 15, right? We have so many great ceremonies here. And we always chant 15. Do you know 15? 12? 7? Any other ones? 9? 8, 9, 12, 15, 16. And here, use the mic. What's your secret? How do you do it?
No idea.
Give us a little clue.
I just read them and work on it.
Read them every day?
No. Whenever I have time, which is like not right now.
But when you were able to assimilate them all, were you reading them regularly?
Yeah, kind of. I was working with my mom, and she was like teaching me some of the verses.
Okay. And they stuck in there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so it's a good idea, and if you do it in between things, like every day, right before I sit down for lunch, I'll read a chapter of something. Like lately, I've been doing this Mangalacharna from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and if you add it into some part of your life, so it's just regular, it's always there, then it just becomes natural that it is something that you know and you can utilize. Hare Krishna. Namo Namo Tulasi Krishna Preyasi. Namo Namo Radha Krishna Seva Pabo Eya Bilasi. Namo see the translation? Shall we together? O Tulsi, beloved of Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire is to obtain the service of Shri Shri Radha Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you has his wishes fulfilled. Bestowing your mercy on him, you make him a resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that you always grant me a residence in the pleasure groves of Sri Vrindavan Dham. Thus, within my vision, I shall always behold the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of the cowherd damsels of Vraja. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maidservant. This very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna prays, may I always swim in the love of Sri Sri Radha and Govinda. Those who circumambulate Srimati Tulsi Devi step by step destroy whatever sins they have committed, even the killing of a Brahmin. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And now the translation to Sri Upanishad, please. Can you do that? It's harder to memorize English, isn't it? Yeah. Because Sanskrit is so metrical. It's easy to assimilate. But it can be done. Just repetition's the mother of learning. Let's see translations. Pardon me? Sanskrit's shorter. How long does it take us to read the whole Bhagavad Gita in English compared to Sanskrit? Who has the numbers on that? Does anybody know? From when we've done it? Yes? Ananya? Maybe like. Oh. Alrighty then. Okay, what did you say? It's a 30-minute difference and it's longer on the English or the Sanskrit? Okay. We want some hard numbers.
You can double check with
We'll double check. Okay, let's read the translations. Let's start with the invocation though. Let's go back one verse. The personality of God, it is perfect and complete. And because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced as a complete whole is also complete in itself.
Because he's the complete whole.
So many complete units emanate from him. He remains the complete balance. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. One may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way, for that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There's no alternative to this way for man. The killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. Although fixed in his abode, the personality of God, it is swifter than the mind and can overcome all others running. The powerful demigods cannot approach him. Although in one place, he controls those who supply the air and rain. He surpasses all in excellence. The Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He is far away, but he is very near as well. He is within everything, and yet he is outside of everything. He who sees systematically everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, who sees all living entities as his parts and parcels, and who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being. One who always sees all living entities as spiritual sparks, in quality one with the Lord, becomes a true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety for him? Such a person must factually know the greatest of all, the personality of Godhead, who is unembodied, omniscient, beyond reproach, without veins, pure and uncontaminated, the self-sufficient philosopher who has been fulfilling everyone's desire since time immemorial. Those who engage in the culture of nascent activities shall enter into the darkest region of ignorance. Worse still are those engaged in the culture of so-called knowledge. The wise have explained that one result is the culture of knowledge, and that a different result is obtained from the culture of nations. Only one who can learn the process of nations and that of transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the full blessings of immortality. Those who are engaged in the worship of demigods enter into the darkest region of ignorance, and still more so to the worshippers. Absolute. It is said that one result is obtained by worshipping the supreme cause of all causes, and then another result is obtained by worshipping what is not supreme. All this is heard from the undisturbed authorities who clearly explained it. One should know perfectly the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna and his transcendental name, form, qualities, and pastimes, as well as the temporary material creation with its temporary demigods, men and animals. When one knows these, he surpasses death and the ephemeral cosmic manifestation with it. And in the eternal kingdom of God, he enjoys his eternal life of bliss and knowledge. O my Lord, sustainer of all that lives, your real face is covered by your dazzling effulgence. Kindly remove that covering and exhibit yourself to your pure devotee. O my Lord, O primeval philosopher, maintainer of the universe, O regulating principle, destination of the pure devotees, well-wisher of the progenitors of mankind, please remove the effulgence of your transcendental rays so that I can see your form of bliss. You are the eternal supreme personality of Godhead, like unto the sun, as am I. Let this temporary body be burnt to ashes, and let the air of life be merged with the totality of air. Now, O my Lord, please remember all my sacrifices, and because you are the ultimate beneficiary, please remember all that I have done for you. O my Lord, as powerful as fire, O omnipotent one, now I offer you all obeisances, falling on the ground at your feet. O my Lord, please lead me on the right path to reach you. And since you know all that I have done in the past, please free me from the reactions to my past sins, so there will be no hindrance to my progress. And now, go back to 13, mantra 13. And we'll ask Shastra Prada to give a short talk on the verse 13. Give him a mic. Just read the verse and say any kind of points related to this verse.
Krishna says, Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram, that there's an emphasis placed on what you remember at the time of death, and that being your destination. Naturally, those who worship a certain entity or are very devoted to that entity think of that entity a lot. And even if they're not worshiping a demigod, usually people end up worshiping a movie star or some other entity that isn't worthy of being worshipped. But it is important to understand that the Supreme Lord, being distinctly separate, like different from the jiva, is always above the jiva, and the jiva has to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's ultimately what Krishna is coming to in the Bhagavad Gita, of saying that you have to take shelter of me and I will take care of you. And it's important to understand that taking shelter of Krishna is a matter of love only, because otherwise that surrender to Krishna is a very superficial, conditional, and insignificant thing. The real surrender to Krishna is one that is rooted in a specific love that you have for him, and that by not worshipping Krishna, one worships and fixes their mind upon something that is not going to take them to a very good destination. Naturally, a question comes up of what about worshipping the devotee? Because the devotee of the Lord is technically not supreme, because in this case it is talking about Krishna. But to that, Srila Rupa Goswami has said that pure devotional service is anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulyena krishna anushilanam bhaktiruttamam. And Srila Jiva Goswami in the commentary to that says that this should also be understood to include favorability to those who are associated with Krishna. And through association with Krishna, it is just as good, if not better, than worshipping Krishna, because Krishna loves his devotee that much, which is why many of the times the beginning first step of devotional service is Guru Padashraya, which is taking shelter of Guru. And through taking shelter of Guru is the only way by which one can actually approach Krishna. So, this is a very long roundabout way of saying that the best way to make progress in spiritual life is to fix your mind on Krishna, and the best way to fix your mind on Krishna is by surrendering to his pure devotee and hearing and inquiring about proper etiquette and spiritual subject matter from that pure devotee. Hare Krishna.
Anushri, can you give a few more follow-up comments to build on that? Doesn't have to be lengthy, just any thoughts you have that relates, connected to any other scripture, anything else you know.
I think in the third verse of Ishopanishad, could we go to that?
Third verse, number 3.
I thought this. Oh,
You're thinking of Kurvane Beha? This one? Okay, go ahead.
No, the second.
Yeah, please.
Second one, sorry.
Go back there.
Yeah, I thought this related to this verse because this shows one side of the thing where you get two different results. So one can aspire to live for hundreds of years, and if he worships that idea, he can attain it. But if one goes on the other side of trying to attain Krishna instead, he can get a different result of going back to Godhead. And so by doing it in this way, in the Ishopanishad too, it mentions if he tries to live for hundreds of years, he can definitely end up doing that. And there's no other alternative if he goes on working in that way. But if he goes to the side of Krishna, then he can surely attain Krishna. Yeah.
Nice. Haribol. So the verse is saying that if you work in the Ishavasya spirit, that you're giving everything to Krishna, consider everything belongs to him, you only take your quota, then you can go and live for hundreds of years without hindrance. I like the way you made that connection, because there's a big difference in the result. Someone just is in it for themselves and they become more and more entangled, but somebody who works in Krishna consciousness, then they become free from entanglement. Nice, good. Continue it a little more, please.
So I was just thinking about like some real life applications of what Shastra Saraprada said about like how you need to have a spiritual master before you can understand like whatever like you need to have a spiritual master so that to inquire from and ask subject matters so that you can become a pure devotee. So I was just thinking how like all the acharyas like Sanatana Goswami had to ask Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and even Srila Prabhupada he had to take he had to surrender to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to understand and then preach it to the whole world.
Give us one verse about where Krishna or somebody else says the importance of having spiritual guidance or a spiritual master. Call a friend if you need a lifeline. Tadvidi pranipatena.
Yeah, tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya.
Say it like
Upadikshantite jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. So basically that verse talks about how you need to surrender to a spiritual master, otherwise you won't get anywhere in your spiritual life.
And when you approach a person with knowledge, you should just be really casual and ask that person to serve you. And you should go there with an attitude, right?
Yeah, you need to like be fully surrendered onto him and like inquire from him submissively. I think that's the word in the verse. You need to inquire from him submissively. Then you can understand.
Is there one more element? Upadakshantite te jnanam. Tadvidi pranipatena paripashnena.
And you need to do service.
Why do service? Sounds like slave labor.
So you need to do service because without service you won't like your heart, your dirty heart won't be cleansed unless you do some service. Because like for example, if you wash the pots, then that slowly purifies your heart, and then that leads you to become more humble and understand more.
Bravo, bravo, brava, bravo. Hare Krishna. It's good. Important to connect everything and just be able to extemporaneously speak about Krishna consciousness and just practice it all the time. Because you have a great responsibility. You've come into a movement and you've taken it seriously. And then the world needs you right now. Because in case you haven't noticed, everyone's crashing and burning out there by trying their own processes. It's not working out so well. So it's important for all of you to inculcate Krishna consciousness into the world. Okay, Geeta Priya? She gave thumbs up. Who else agrees? I'm counting everybody. So you'll do it? You help inculcate Krishna consciousness into the hearts of all the people of the world. Yes? Yes. Okay, good. Let's sing one more kirtan and then we'll call it a night. We sing the happy tune? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Go Premanande. Nitai Gaura Hari Bo. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki, Shri Harinam Mahamantra ki, Shri Harinam Prabhu ki, Gaur Premanande. So we have a great opportunity because the human life is called the rarest of the rare. Labvam sudu labambidam bahusam bhavante. And once one comes to the human form of life, there's a very short span during which we get an opportunity to practice spiritual life. It takes a long time to get on track, and it takes a lot of effort to stay on track. But every effort we make to continue throughout this lifetime hearing and chanting and staying in the practice rather than straying from it, that gives us momentum going throughout life, coming into the last stage, which whenever that may be, and being strong enough at the end to remember Lord Krishna and not just cling to the material world, which is what most people do. They stay attached, they think, I'll do it tomorrow, and it's like people who procrastinate getting ready for an exam until the last day. And that never turns out well because you have to start really early to learn things. It doesn't happen overnight. You have to inculcate it, you have to look at it from different angles, you have to discuss it with people, right, for taking tests. It's really got to be deeply ingrained. You have to have gone over it so many times so you really feel it. And so that's a human form of life. It's a test. So we should be in it really to achieve the ultimate goal. We'll just go back home, back to God. It's not a plaything. It's not a joke. It's not just joining an organization. It means personal dedication throughout one's life. And it's especially helpful to teach it to as many people as many other people as possible. So please keep the transcendental vibration going, everyone, because we're as strong as our weakest link here in the community. And we need to be really strong. Who knows what will happen in the world? We can't take for granted energy. We can't take for granted protection from government agencies and so forth. And nothing's for sure in the material world. So take shelter now and be really serious about Krishna consciousness and try to be kind and helpful to everybody in the community and everyone beyond our community. Does that sound like an okay plan? It's not too heavy? Okay. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Shri Lakshmi Nrsingadev, if you so desire, please bless and empower everyone in our ISV community that we may be kind friends to all living entities. We may take care of one another emotionally, physically, in every way we possibly can, that we all drop any grudges we may have anywhere. And may we work hard to please Srila Prabhupada and your lordships and try to smash our goals this year too. Thank you very much for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with this prayer in part or in whole, please say Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpadrishya kripasindameva chapatitanam pavanam. Thank you.